dogs discover the language of English? I want one. Can he speak English also? Astute or asinine? Very controversial question no other show would even pose.
You're listening to Barreiro on The Fan.
The Salvation Army's most amazing race is October 7th in St. Paul, and there's a $5,000 grand prize. You can help raise money for the Salvation Army food and housing programs. Get a teammate and sign up at AmazingRaceMN.org. For all the details, visit KFAN.com and make the keyword community.
A lot of good T-shirt ideas coming in, you're saying, huh?
We've got a couple that I think are
your memory.
Yeah, we've got a couple that I think are right there.
Well, they remember stuff we do more than we remember the stuff we do, and we're us. But that's all good, so we'll take those under advisement. Regarding the astute or asinine, emailer Bob. Randy K's dog didn't understand English. I'm sorry. When did dogs discover the language of English? I want one. Can he speak English also? I don't think that was as preposterous as it sounds, because you've been a dog owner for a while. I've been a dog owner for a long time.
Yep.
And they most assuredly...
They know commands.
They know commands, and I mean, commands are in a given language in which they have been trained in.
Yes. I think the email is asinine. What Randy said is astute.
Yeah, I don't think this is that difficult. Now, does that mean that you can carry on a conversation with your dog and she will or he will understand everything that you said? No.
Very rarely does that happen.
That doesn't stop me from having those conversations because they're therapeutic for me. And let's be honest, that's a lot of the reason that many of us like having dogs. They're therapy to us. So I may pretend that she gets more of what I'm saying at a given moment that I'm saying. Relatively harmless. That's not because I'm assuming she knows all of it. But I do buy the notion that if a dog is trained in a certain language, then those are certain commands. Now, when they're just talking about sounds are sounds regardless of language, but that's very different. So I don't think that's that. I think what he is suggesting is asinine. What she had suggested was rather astute and not all that surprising to people who've been around dogs for more than a minute and a half. Chances are her dog cannot speak English. I think it's fair to say. Gatsby, I doubt that Gatsby can talk. Wrigley can't talk. Rainey, my last dog, I don't think could. I mean, she acted like she could talk.
Right.
She tried to communicate.
Yeah.
With people in a way as if she wished that she could speak in the language.
She had some things to say.
She was pleading like, I got something that I got to get out. And can Nike speak English?
Nike can speak English. I think he pretends like he doesn't understand English, but he does. He definitely understands English, but he pretends like he does not.
Yeah, that's fair.
Very similar to our son, Jackson. I know he can speak English, but he pretends like he doesn't understand it most of the time, particularly when his mom's telling him to do something.
We had a lot of conversation early in this program about your Timberwolves, and there's about a million rumors on what else they might do to supplement the roster. Maybe I'm the idiot because I'm just still trying to process and enjoy the minute since we acquired Jimmy Butler.
You're just trying to do the Tice, enjoy the season.
But maybe that's a stupid way to think of it, that whatever you're going to do, you got to do it fast. Free agency starts as July 1.
Yeah.
You do have to know what you're thinking you're trying to do. You got to have a fallback plan. You got to have, plan C. You got to have plan D. All that's true. You got to do your due diligence. For me, my concern is it's the age-old. Here's your challenge when you're in a position that the Wolves are in. There's such a thing as one move too many. There really is. People don't want to believe that. They don't want to accept that, but it can happen. The moves have to be not just splashy and sexy, but smart. You got to put together a team that can work together, and I'm not sure every name I've heard, even if it absolutely enhances their talent, makes a great deal of sense. I got to be convinced on Kyle Lowry, even though I know he's a tough player. He just had his best shooting season. He shot 46%, which for him is quite good.
That's pretty good.
And he had a very efficient season offensively, averaged 22, whatever. But Maybe I've got too much Rubiobo in me. It's possible.
Well, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it tried,
especially when we did see it last year. We saw a great finish. We did, and when we had this entire team intact, we had a very good stretch of basketball with Rubio as the point guard. Now, it fell apart once Levine got hurt and Belly got hurt and people stopped playing defense again. It got hurt. I don't think Rubio stopped playing defense. So, I want us to be smart, and that's what's going to make the next few weeks really interesting because they're not done. They have money to spend, and they're back to also, do you want to spend it? I mean, who is our bench right now? Right now, we can't even say we have Shabazz Muhammad because he's a restricted free agent.
Yeah.
We may or may not want him back, right? We may renounce him. So who's our bench right now?
Well, Tyus would be the backup at this point, right?
Right now, Tyus Jones would be the backup point guard.
They just waived Jordan Hill. Did
That's
you see
for money,
that? Yeah,
right?
About $4 million. Let me pull up the old roster. Let's find out.
Who's the local kid we got, the big man who played sparingly? We got Aldrich back, right?
Yep. Who apparently went to Rubio's hometown in Spain.
That might be the kiss of death.
You think so?
Well, yeah, apparently.
Maybe. There's nothing Rubio related.
Nothing Rubio. We want nothing to do with anybody who even touches Ricky Rubio.
We've got Brandon Rush right now, although is he a starter now that, well, no, Butler's, because I was going to say he moved in for Levine, so you flip Butler in there. So
realistically,
Rush, yeah, I don't think Jay Butt's coming off the bench.
No, I would think that'd be unlikely.
So you've got Brandon Rush.
The bottom line is not much. I mean, you sent the equivalent.
You sent two of your bench
three
players.
Bodies.
Yeah,
right. We sent a starter who's been replaced and two bench guys. And Dunn was not very good, but he was an option. And whoever we were going to take with the what pick did we have? 7?
7.
Presumably was going to be a guy who might not be a rotation player immediately, but was going to be a bench guy, right? So you have a lot of spots to fill, and that's what you have to decide to do. Do you go for the home run on the one guy? Because I asked about Reddick. Reddick is the perfect fit.
And he would fit with Bark, by the way.
As a
B-A-R-K. Right. Someone pointed that out to us.
As a sixth man, I mean, he would be terrific. Great shooter, right? I don't know how old he is, but still got some basketball left in him. But you're going to have to spend, according to AP Sports Guy, he thought upwards close to $20 million.
Yeah.
Now, again, it's the new NBA.
It's crazy.
The contracts are nuts. We got to accept that. Average to below average players are making $10 million a year now. So 20 is doesn't mean what it once did.
Landscape has changed.
Landscape's changed.
What?
You're unbelievable. I don't even know what to say to you. So
keep it between us.
I don't know. We have to. That's part of where you got to be smart about. All right, well, we better off, downsizing a little bit and accepting not quite as good a shooter, but we can get two players for the price of one. Well, you can go too far that way, too, if who we end up getting are guys that end up not wanting to use. Because, I mean, let's be honest. The guys we got last year, do we really want to use them that much? No. I mean, they're guys that you more likely are, we got to have them to fill out the roster if we really run through an injury bug. But they're really guys that didn't end up being in much of the rotation.
No, we need about 7 players total, the way Tibbs wants to run, right?
And we need still a defensive presence next to Karl Anthony Towns. Now, I don't even know if that player exists in free agency.
That's allegedly who they think they drafted, right?
Yes, but
he's 6.
Yes, he's 5 years old.
Who knows? And he's raw and everything, but he's 7 feet tall, and that's allegedly who they drafted. So maybe in a year or two he develops. Maybe that's all he needs to do is be defense and rebounding guy. You don't have to be super polished. I mean,
no.
I know the NBA is a different game than the Big Ten, but look what Reggie Lynch did for the Gulls.
It's a man's game.
It's a man's game, right? But look what he did is defense and rebounding for a team.
And
transformed him completely.
Sure. Yeah.
You hope that Patton stays out of foul trouble a little bit. But so maybe that's all he does. I don't know.
That would be you don't need him to do much more. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. So I don't know how I morphed into that, but I did.
Trying to figure out who they should sign. 2 players, 1 player, a lot of money, some money. There's just a lot of different ways that they can go.
And the name that keeps coming up is the Beverly kid out of Houston, who the insiders believe is only going to become available if Chris Paul ends up in Houston. I'm not even sure I see that fit myself. But in any case, it doesn't matter what I think. Maybe Houston does, or maybe he does. Then Beverly becomes excess baggage there. He's a bargain price money-wise.
Big time.
So you save a bunch of money there. He's another lockdown defender. He's not a very good shooter. Is he as good? I mean, Rubio is a really good facilitator. I'd even like to see, can we give it a month? But I guess no, because the feeling is, well, we got a window of guys who are available. We're not going to have a second shot at them. And that apparently is why we're exhausting all possibilities in making a move on Ricky. So stay tuned. There are very conflicting stories on how hard we're trying to move Ricky. Whether it's we're keeping our eyes open, that's very different than we got to get him out of here. Those are two very, very different versions because, as we've said for the last year plus, don't cut your nose to spite your face. If you're going to make a move on Ricky, make sure you are upgrading yourself at the position in a significant way. And if you can't do that, then let the thing play out a little bit longer with how old is Rubio, by the way, now?
Rubio's 26, I think. He's not very old. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure
he's been playing since he was 8.
Yeah. But everybody's got mileage on him.
And he was healthy.
Rubio's 26. He'll be 27 October 21st.
So still plenty of hoops in him, we'd like to think. Email address is booth@kfan.com. 2 outside the toy department items to get to. One of them pretty significant. The other not as serious, but worth a minute or two as well.
Barreiro. Bumper to bumper with Barreiro. On the Fan.
Chris Paul doesn't end up with the Wolves.
I think he's the one that said that.
Do we know that? Do we know he's...
We don't know it.
Well, you know what? He'll never get a job in this town.
No, he won't. Krasinski hinted at that, right?
Yeah. That's where he's going to be. That's fine. High-level competitive stuff's got to be in the rankings.
Well, do we flip it to high-level competitive shirt?
High-level competitive... yeah, that's a nice...
It's a play on words. Turn of a phrase, Dan.
Thank you.
I took a phrase and made it into what, so I don't know. We got that a bunch on Twitter as well. I think it's a great option, high-level competitive stuff.
Something to think about, for sure. Outside the toy department today, Philando Castile's family has reached a nearly $3 million settlement with the city of St. Anthony for his death at the hands of one of its police officers. City does not admit any liability in Castile's death last year, but the settlement likely speaks to the city's fears about its chances at trial. That's according to Andrew Noel, an attorney for Castile's mother, Valerie. Noel said the substantial amount of money, among the highest settlement amounts in Minnesota for such cases, likely nods towards the risk St. Anthony saw in going through a civil trial. It's an actions speak louder than words kind of thing. I guess what I was stunned by was how quickly this has been resolved. And maybe that does speak to an aggressiveness on the part of those representing the city that said, don't mess around with this. Everybody's going to try to look at it and say, well, does it in a sense determine, does it suggest or reveal a certain culpability, even if one's not going to be spoken, that St. Anthony felt that the cop, regardless of whether this rose to a legal level, screwed up badly. Let's get out from under this as quickly as we possibly can. I can't answer that, but it's a thought that went through my head because it seems as if it's so fast compared to. I can't sit here and say I've researched all these, but the feeling I have is it feels as if it came together very, very quickly. Do you not agree?
I do, but they've had a lot of time to think about it.
Yeah.
They've had about a year, basically, to think about it.
It has been a year since it took place.
They've also seen the trial. They clearly made the determination that the officer shouldn't work there anymore. And I don't know. I mean, we know how quickly these lawyer bills add up. Mm-hmm. At some point, you're probably doing the math. I mean, that's what everybody always says, right? You settle so you don't have to sit there and litigate